Jennifer Stybel. I'm delighted to be joined today by Ganguli, a research scientist at Anthropic, where it started and now lead the societal impacts team to understand how people use and are impacted by AI. Prior to Anthropic, Deep was the founding research director at the Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI. Writer, director, and producer Martin Russell Johnson creates work that merges his love for entertainment with his lifelong commitment to human rights and mental health advocacy. He was the winner of the inaugural Storytelling with Care grant, funded by Caring Across Generations, the National Domestic Workers Alliance, and Participant Media, and we all just watched a clip of his film, Catalina. Patrice, my good friend and partner, is a strategic leader and the co-founder and CEO of The Holding Co., a design lab dedicated to ushering in a modern care system. Patrice's leadership at The Holding Co. has catalyzed over 50 partnerships focused on creating impactful brands, products, and services across financial caregiving, the connected home, family mental health, and child care. So I want to give a thank you to Caring Across Generations for bringing all of these care leaders together in one room. This is so exciting. And the four of us are here today to talk about AI in care, which has come up a few times over the past couple of days. And what kind of panel would this be in 2025 without a conversation about AI? So to help us level set and understand the experiences in the room, I want to get a quick show of hands. Raise your hand if you are actively using AI on a daily basis as an integral part of your workflows, either in your job or at home. Okay. And then raise your hand if you've played around with AI but aren't quite sure how to use it or maybe a little bit still wary. Now raise your hand if you've heard of AI. So we've all made a commitment here not to use acronyms or jargon as much as possible. And as we prepared for this conversation, one thing that really came through is that we can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? AI is here, and it's impacting every part of our lives. And we have an opportunity to shape it and to harness it to advance and provide lift to caregivers. And to the important work of care, and not to replace human connection. And as iGen said, we can't go back to Earth 1. So by way of introduction, I'd ask each of the panelists to share your name, the perspective that you're bringing to this conversation, and your care story. As has seemed to be tradition here at CareFest, I guess I'm going to share my own care story first. I'm caregiver to my two young children, Liam, who's 8, and Birdie, who's 3. Our family is on our own dementia caregiving journey with my mother-in-law. And I think, relevant to this conversation, as I was thinking about it, so I never met my grandmother. She passed away when my mom was young, 15. And the reason was that my family couldn't afford the dialysis that my grandmother needed. And so as we think about access and affordability of new technologies, that needs to be at the forefront and not an afterthought as we think about these technologies being decisive of who lives and who dies.
I'm Deep Ganguli. The perspective I bring here today is twofold. One, I've been working in AI for a long time. It started off as like fun math problems, and I'm a little bit mourning for that time. And now it's more like, uh-oh, this is like really impacting people in the real world. And so I'm in the middle of reskilling and trying to become less of a technologist and more of like a humanities kind of person. And so thank you all for having me here and letting me be a part of that with you. The other side of the story is that I was very fortunate to participate in an event where the National Domestic Workers Alliance brought actual home care workers to sit at a table at Anthropic, the company I work at, to talk with the AI researchers, including myself. And this was such a powerful moment for me, such a highlight in my career, to meet these people that do this amazing work and just err on the side of listening. What is it that you think this is? And what are your hopes and dreams for it? And it was just this opportunity in this moment to kind of work together on co-developing the technology together. And it would be really sad if we stopped there. I think there's just a lot more to do in that space. My own personal care story is, yeah, I'm part of the sandwich generation. So I've got young kids at home in San Francisco where I live, and I have aging parents in Los Angeles. And I think someone referred to this more as like the panini, and that's actually how I feel. It's like, and I think I was reflecting on this, like, I'm in the best case scenario. My kids are healthy. My parents, though they're in their 80s, are very healthy. And it's still really hard, and I feel that pressure kind of mounting. And when I listen to everyone else's care story, that's strictly harder. And my reaction to this is like, this doesn't have to be this hard. Like, we can work together on this to make our lives better. Yeah.
Hey everyone, I'm Martin Russell Johnson. I am the writer, director, and producer of Catalina. You just saw that clip, and I promise you, the film, thank you. I promise you there is some hope to it. It isn't just about scaring you. We want to use this story as a cautionary tale as well. So as a social impact filmmaker, my job is to tell stories about communities that are underserved and often voiceless. And I actually found out that I was a caregiver, didn't know it until I saw this grant last year. I thought I was just a son taking care of his mother, and a son taking care of his sister, taking her to her chemo treatments, and taking my niece to school, and taking my mom to school, and helping her with her diabetes. I was just trying to be a good person like my mother taught me. And then I found out that I was also a caregiver, and I tried for a long time. I didn't want to use that term caregiver because I felt like I wasn't going to do that term justice, right? I felt like there's so many people that do more as a caregiver than I do. But now understanding how important it is for us to come together as caregivers and how there's power in numbers, I'm going to always say I'm a caregiver and then tell other people that they're caregivers as well. So this story, like I said, I want to be able to use this as a cautionary tale, but also to get different eyes onto it, and to have people learn more about caregiving through non-traditional methods. Like this is a sci-fi film, a sci-fi action thriller that's centering care. So I feel like we'll use this to reach more of a wider audience. Thank you.
So I lead The Holding Co., which is a design studio focused specifically on care, women, and families. That means that we're working to build products, to build brands, to build strategies, services, experiences across a lot of different organizations and companies who are really actively building out like the solutions for care that we all so want and need, which also means I get these days to work with a lot of AI. So very excited to be here with all of you and be in that conversation. My care story is a little different in that I began this through a really unique opportunity with Pivotal, actually, to go out and talk to families across the US. It ended up being like over 100 different individuals of families of all shapes and sizes around just how care was showing up in their lives, and to have that be an input into the way in which we thought about forming strategy around care. And it was a really phenomenal, foundational experience for me to get to see all these different people and all these different types of situations, and how hard care was in pretty much every single one of them. People either felt like they were just barely hanging on, or they like almost had it together, or in most cases felt like, why can't I figure this out? This should be something we can figure out. And it became quite clear, and everybody in this room knows this, we've heard it on this stage already, like that this is not an individual failing, right? This is a systems failing. But to be able to see it in that clear of a pattern, where it's like household after household, everybody thinks this is their fault, but it's the fact that we just do not have the supports and services and systems that we need, was just really clear as day. And got me so passionate about this work as a designer to say, like, why aren't we building this? There's this a space in which there's actually so much opportunity, and let's get to work, which is the foundation of The Holding Co.
So Martin, I'd love to start with you. As the audience saw, your short film Catalina, and as you talked about, won the NDWA Caring Across Participant Grant, and you'll get to see the full film in 2026. Your film captures the story of an android mechanic contending with grief and the consequences of AI-driven caregiving. And it paints a pretty bleak dystopian picture of what the future of AI and care could be. And what struck me in watching it, I got to see the whole thing, that as opposed to some accounts that paint AI as the villain, it really was showing us and focusing on what AI does to us and our humanity. Can you share more about what inspired you to create the film and how you're thinking about that interaction between technology and AI and caregiving?
Of course. I think AI should be a way to assist us. It's supposed to help us in whatever we need to get done. It's not supposed to replace us, right? So I wrote the story actually in 2017, so it was quite some time ago, and I was having trouble finishing it. And it wasn't until I figured out that my main character was a caregiver, I was like, oh, and it sparked something in me to finish the story. And so I started doing research, and actually, I remember seeing iGen's TED Talk about the silver tsunami, or the silver wave, and I had no idea that that was something that's going to be happening. So in school they talk about the Industrial Revolution and how people lost their jobs, and with AI, we're talking about a system that's been created that could potentially impact every single aspect of our lives and every single job. So it's not just the industrial side of things, it's everything. So, I was trying to figure out, how do I tell a story that is a cautionary tale again, that centers the humanity of us. There's a tagline that says, "Care deserves a human touch." And that's all throughout the film. And, I really felt that. So that's one of the biggest reasons why I wrote Catalina, is because I don't want to see us, end up losing our jobs to something. And I always tell people, like, you're not going to lose your job to someone you're not going to lose your job to artificial intelligence. You might lose your job to someone that knows how to use it, unfortunately. And we all know that the social and environmental implications of using AI, and it's not always the best, but you have to embrace it, because there are ways that you can use it to be more productive. I heard a story yesterday about an 80-year-old woman who is still, caregiving and has a walker. I'm imagining a world where the AI that's in Catalina could actually help and assist that woman. I mean, she shouldn't be working at 80. We know that, but how can that, if that is her reality, how can AI assist that individual?
That's great. And that's something we've talked about too. Do you want to speak into the job loss piece?
Sure, yeah. So, a mantra that we have on my team at work is we can't manage what we can't measure. So we went to try to actually measure and understand the impact AI is having on the economy. And it's actually coming from my job before it comes for care work, right? These models are really good at software engineering, and that's what I do. And that's the thing that pops out in the data. And you know what doesn't pop out in the data? Care work. It's just not there, Why? Because that is a deeply human job. And these models, there's a line in Catalina. I don't think I'm going to spoil the film in 2026, but the woman who has the care robot says, "This machine doesn't love, it doesn't hate, it doesn't have a soul." Right? I mean, it was yeah, that was it, right? It was so powerful, and that's when I think about care work and AI. These machines, they don't love, they don't hate, they don't have a soul. You need to have a soul to care for other people. And so that's why I think, one, just looking at the data and the measurements, I'm actually not concerned about AI replacing the jobs of care workers anytime soon. I'm a little worried about myself. I'm very worried about myself. I don't know why you're laughing. I'm asking you for help, but okay.
One twice.
We can reskill you in caregiving.
Yeah, exactly. I'm already a caregiver, as I've learned. So yeah, I'm not quite concerned about that. The future that I want to see is one in which we all, independent of our jobs, we ask ourselves, what is actually deserving of my humanity, and what's not. And if something is not deserving of my humanity, maybe it's something like fighting the bureaucracy, doing the administrative paperwork, I will cede that to the machine. But if it's something that requires me to make a connection, that's what I want. I want those relationships. I want that personal connection. I want the community. And I don't think AI can do that. And I don't think we should have it do that either. Yeah.
I'm going to stay with risk for 1 second, and then I promise that we will go back into hopeful land. But from your perspective as an AI technologist, what do you see as the biggest risks? And Patrice, maybe you can speak into this too. The biggest risks for AI and care?
Yeah, so from my perspective, the biggest risk here is that we talk a lot about AI's intelligence. It has an IQ. You can use it for work. It can increase your productivity. But we're also seeing that it has what resembles an emotional intelligence, an EQ. We're starting to see people are turning to AI for companionship, for interpersonal advice, for help with sort of subjective tasks. Who should I vote for in this election, right? And this concerns me. Like, this really concerns me. Is that emotional intelligence real? Are we, we as human beings, putting on my hat as a recovering neuroscientist, we're neurobiologically and genetically wired to relate to other people. And now we have something that's like, I'm just going to use the term, probably more of a junk food that you can go to. It might not be healthy, but it tastes good and it's like right there. And you can, the biggest risk to me is that we don't collectively decide, actually, when it comes to an emotional intelligence, I should do the healthy thing and talk to the actual human beings around me versus I should delegate that to the machine. So it's a subtle risk, but it's one I'm most concerned about.
How about you, Patrice?
Yeah.
I'll just add on that I want to also say, though, it is a risk for the care economy to not get AI. It is a space that has been underinvested and under-designed for. We've never gotten the tech, right? We never got it in the first round, and we don't want to miss it on the second. And so, when we think about care jobs, right? These are hard jobs that are stuffed with things that people have to do. And when we think about the family experience and family caregivers, they're exhausted. We've just heard about this for the last 2 days, and so I don't want to be up here as the super tech optimist as my frame. I think there's a lot to be unsure of around this technology, but there's also a lot of very some basic lift that we need in the care economy, like childcare. There's a lot of paper that's still out there. I have a mom friend who said, who knew I was just going to be filling out forms for motherhood? There are so many things that is kind of the basics that we get in other spaces that is desperately needed in care for us to kind of get up this lift of admin, organization, organizing, communication. We want to be very careful when it comes into the human space, but the care economy is also filled with so much of the other types of labor that we want that attention and support and help for.
Now, with Jane Fonda in my ear, I want to move us into that kind of hopeful future. Deep, can we start with you? Can you paint us a picture of what would the optimal future look like with AI and care?
Yeah, I think, again, the optimal future that I see is living up to the Keynesian dream of the 15-hour work week, where AI actually makes everyone so productive that they actually have more time to do, that we all have more time to do the things we love, which is being with our families and being with our friends. And so, if this thing really is the killer productivity app, and we can actually kind of shape it towards letting us live that Keynesian dream and not having our bosses kind of try to get more labor out of us, that's the future I want to see, because that's a future in which we kind of revert back away from just work as a source of meaning to people as a source of meaning. We can step back that way. I'd love to see that future.
And Patrice, bringing us into present day, can you share some examples of promising AI applications you're seeing now with AI in care?
Yeah, I can. I think there's a lot that's going on around that administrative lift that we just talked about, especially like when it comes to like just like back end of like care facilities, for instance. That's really exciting. Another piece that I think is quite profound is AI's personalization, and the way in which we can take so many different unique problems and states and then be able to deliver like really important and custom information. So we've had the real pleasure to partner with NDWA on their Ask Aya product. And this is essentially designing how do you put like negotiation support into the pocket of every care worker. So cleaners, nannies, home care workers, like how do they like have help when they think about not just like how to negotiate like formal work conditions, but also informal ones where just like things scope starts to change. You know, people asked you to clean a thing a little bit more and no pay got increased, or there was sick days and there was no conversation around it. And being able to use AI to not only be able to say, what do I do in this situation, but also to give you the exact script, to be able to do it with you in one language. You could be talking to AI in Spanish, and it gives you the script in English that you can then have with your your client. This is like, that's when you're like, yes, this is what we're talking about. We want to put that power into these contexts. And so that's one that I'm just like, really revved up of. And I know Sam and Elsa are going to give a demo right after this on Ask Aya, so it's pretty exciting to see. But then also, like, we've been doing work in reproductive health and birth control, right? And thinking about how you can actually put AI into that context where people have never felt like healthcare is listening to them, healthcare has time for their questions, you know, to be able to say like, hey, this is what's going on with me, like what method like might work, and I'm really kind of worried about this particular side effect, like what's going to happen, and to get results that like give you confidence and say like, okay, I can take this into my own hands. So those are some of the things that I feel like pretty jazzed about. And then I think there's like, of course, there's like way out here, like, is AI just gonna eliminate like a lot of the diseases that create a lot of caregiving work? You know, like, yeah, that sounds awesome. You know, but then there's also, there's some really good stuff that's happening today that I think is moving the ball forward.
And as you're seeing the landscape, where do you see the biggest pockets of opportunity, where maybe there's not a solution today, but you see that place where AI could make a big...
Yeah, I think it is all of the, like, how do you, like, when you look at, how do I find the best match? How does it change the way in which I can be getting information that I need that comes at my fingertips? You know, there is, like, so much of caregiving is decision making, right? That we have to carry. Big decisions, small decisions, like lots of questions, and that needs support. That needs information. You know, so one of the things we've been doing lately is we built a platform called the Sandwich Club, which is essentially a new type of reimagined resource for caregivers, you know, that is AI enabled, but to essentially like get sandwich generation folks to come in with all your questions. And the range of stuff in there is pretty amazing, you know, to be able to have questions that are both like about grief, about emotional and mental health, but also about like transactional stuff or like benefits and navigating that. Like, so there's a lot of power that can be put back to people. I think the risk is obviously if we don't do that, if we are not including everyone who needs to be included in the way in which these software, these experiences, these AI is designed and structured. And so
You too as well. If there's anything in your experience as a caregiver that you wish you could offload to AI, what would that be?
Take this one. You want me to go? Let's see here. I would love, offload to an AI. Honestly, I love giving care to my kids. Like, I don't want to offload any of that to the AI. However, filling out the forms.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of tired of that. Yeah, filling out the forms, like kind of the administrative, like I would love that for AI to be more involved in that. Right now, what I do is I just have various stamps, and I just kind of stamp them. So I'm using a old school technology for now. Yeah.
I want to answer the question about hope.
Yeah,
if you have
sure.
a second ago. Something I'm hopeful for when it comes to AI is, well, I want to take you through my Catalina journey real quick. I found out about the grant 11 days before it was due. And I needed to provide a script, a pitch deck, answer all these questions about my ties to caregiving, which I had no understanding of any of that yet. And what I was able to do, and this is the first time I used ChatGPT, so this is like early 2024. ChatGPT helped me with my creativity, to be honest, because I was able to imagine what a black robot looked like. Sci-fi is traditionally, people of color aren't in the sci-fi realm, right? We're not in the future by design, unfortunately. So I was like, I need to figure out what a black robot really looks like. One that's, skin peeling like the Terminator style, or bring it down to like almost looking human. And I was able to write that prompt in the ChatGPT, and it opened up a whole world of creativity that I didn't know existed. I saw it really for the first time. So then I was able to use that to write my story because I saw what it looked like. And that was really helpful for me because, we all have our own creative blocks. So I really think that ChatGPT and some forms of AI can really help us unlock parts of ourselves that have been, just that we didn't have access to before. One other thing that I do when I use ChatGPT as well is I'm always asking it questions. Why did you eliminate, like if I'm proofreading or something, why did you eliminate that word? Or why did you change things? Because I want to be able to learn the decisions that it's making to make my stuff a little bit more better without having it do it for me. So I've become a better writer because I've been able to ask the right prompts. So I'm hopeful that it can help us break some barriers that we have.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. What do you wish people understood about AI, and particularly caregivers?
Yeah, I think I was struck by the kind of the shows of hands of like, I use it sort of all the time. I kind of don't know what it is. And then there was like, I've used it, but I don't really get it. And also Martin's kind of earlier claim about you probably won't be replaced by AI, but you might be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI. And then connecting that back with when the Home Care Council came to Anthropic to learn about AI, it's sort of like we gotta learn how to use this stuff. Like the thing that I want to communicate here is that I too, I've helped build it, and I'm still actually personally learning how to use it. And it's a general purpose technology, so it has a wide variety of usages, like unlocking creativity. I personally have used it to make little computer games in Spanish to teach like arithmetic to my kid. Like I had no idea if that would work, and I tried it. And so my provocation to the group putting this all together is go play with it. Like you are the experts on how it can help you in your care work. And there's tons of resources that sort of will walk you through. All of the companies have like long documents on how to prompt these models. And I'd encourage you to use your own creativity and try and really learn how to use this and see how it could help you. And then tell those stories so that we can find those kind of positive use cases. Because the companies were listening, right? If you can lift up like, whoa, this is a killer application in home care, we will pay attention to that, right?
So I'm hearing one thing that this group can do is go play with AI. What else can people in the audience today do to help put us on the path to the ideal solution as opposed to the doomsday one that we saw here?
I mean, I'm happy to second Deep's point too around like using it, like because we need that data in the models, right? Like because we are at a risk of AI not being able to reflect like what's going on with women in care being left out because it doesn't exist from the stuff that it's drawing from. So we need everybody to be putting into it so it has like the right information to be spitting back to us, and we need to be shaping it. Like I got to participate in the AI worker tour and panel, and it was really awesome to be able to have the workers say where they wanted it and where they didn't. And it was pretty clear, like when I think about my job, like intuitively, like these are the things, yes, I would really love, like medication management, like the way in which I have to do like coordination, like getting up to speed on things, Then the no's were like, oh, so clear too, right? It's like, this is like the what we don't want to take away is the beautiful humanity of care and like why it's not coming for the care space. But lastly, there were some surprising things, like to me, like the workers were like toileting, which actually makes like all the sense in the world. Like that's a space in which people want privacy. It's an intimate moment in which care workers are like in there right now in ways in which they can handle with dignity. But it's like, it would probably be better if like there was a robot doing that, So I think that like, it's like we know the answer to these things, and let's actually be the ones who are defining where we apply it and where we don't. And the more of us who are shaping what those solutions, those models look like, I think the better off we'll be. Yeah.
They both said everything. Like I remember being part of the NDWA event over the summer, and I remember sitting and having the care workers, play around with the AI, and they were learning it and seeing it for the first time. And I was also listening to them talk about like, how do I ask for time off? And so I was like, well, maybe you should ask the program. And seeing the letter that came out, that was so amazing. And I just saw the light bulb go off in their heads of how they could use this to help with their own efficiency. This is only my second time in New York out of my grown life, and I was so scared of going on the subway because I was scared of getting lost. I remember just putting in like, how do I get to the bridge or whatever it was, and then AI just gave me all the steps that I needed to take to do it. So it's there to help you. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Wait, say it again.
Don't be afraid of New York.
I love it here.
I'd love to spend a little more time on the home care tour. If you can go into a little more specifics about how that was designed, maybe spark some ideas in here of how people might want to replicate something like that, or just do more of that, because it sounds like that is something that is sorely needed, bringing care workers together with AI technologists, and how can we do more of that?
Yeah, it was so brilliantly designed because NDWA had a group of people that were just fully briefed me. Well, what is CARE? What does the organization do? Who are the people that are coming to visit? What are we hearing about what their concerns are? And there was multiple calls where I sort of was trying to understand a group of people that I don't interact with so much. And that amount of, dare I say, care and thought that was put into like, how do we bridge these two different communities was like, it was probably a total of 3 hours of meeting, but it was so artfully designed that everyone was really brought up to speed so that I could kind of go home and kind of put together, some materials. And one of the things I put together, because of, I'm not an expert in home healthcare, it was negotiating a contract, because I heard that this is a problem that they have. And so I like loaded a kind of a standard contract. I had the model translated into Spanish. I asked the model, what are some gotchas that people should be aware of? And I just demoed this live. And back to Martin's point, I just saw the lights on everyone's eyes. Well, I had no idea you could use it in this way. And then their wheels started spinning. Well, can it do this? Can it do this? And I was like, I don't know, let's try it. Like, why don't we drive this together? And I think if we can recreate that pattern, I think that could be awesome. I think we can do that.
Yeah, and adding on to that too, like, don't be afraid to ask, put something into, even, like, keep on going back to ChatGPT, but like, if you're putting something in there and you're like, and you were talking about like, what are the gotcha moments? Why would this get rejected? You ask the questions, or even if you're going in for like an interview, you can throw that job description in it. Why am I not qualified for this job? So you can like find a way to prepare yourself for that interview, or prepare your material for that interview just by using, finding unique ways to ask different questions.
So with our remaining time, I'd like each of you to share in about 5 seconds, what's one thing making you feel hopeful about AI and care in this moment?
I think if we get this right, we can use AI to free up even more time for the actual parts of care that everyone loves and wants and needs more.
I'm excited about how it's going to empower individuals to take control of their lives and, like you were saying, just increase the quality of life for individuals by giving them back more time.
I think they said it like, give us back the time. Like, we want the time, the space, the joy. Like, we need, that's what we need. Like, and this is a technology that can help advance it. And what we don't want it to do is to blend into the human part. But so that's like deep, that's the work, right?
Yep. No pressure.
Yeah.
I will close us with a quote. AI can change caregiving, but it will never replace compassion. It will never replace the human element. We will champion innovation, but we will never forget that the power of caregiving comes from the human heart. So pop quiz, who said that? That was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. yesterday at the HHS announcement of the Caregiver AI Challenge. So just to underscore that care is a nonpartisan issue, and it can be a connecting force if we let it. So thank you all for being here.